Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So, a fine Tuesday evening to you all. Namaste, Hari Om. So here we are on a Tuesday studying the Mother's life. Holy Mother. As we know, she was long suffering in many ways. Forbearance was a shining star on her forehead, as it were. We're just reading about the fact that an in-law, Manmata, had asked her for money. She had remarked that Kali Kumar, her brother, had arranged this marriage with Manmata because he was the son of a wealthy landlord. And she says, and now look how Manmata pesters me for money. Then she dictated a letter to Sarada asking for 200 rupees from the interest of her investment in Balaram's estate to retrieve Radhu's jewelry. Radhu's jewelry had been pawned. So Holy Mother had to come up with the money to get it back. Happiness and misery, disease and death, union and separation, affluence and poverty, misunderstanding and quarreling, selfishness and unselfishness, dharma and adharma are all part of family life. That's quite a list. As soon as human beings enter this world, they taste the sweet and bitter fruits of the tree of samsara, of relative existence. Holy Mother experienced both in her human birth. She tried to create a peaceful and joyous atmosphere in her family, but did not always succeed. Although she was endowed with supreme divine power, she did not want to change providence. Now, what does providence mean in this sense? It means karma. It means she could have overturned every misery. She could have changed everything into delight. But of course, that would not have been good for the people that she did it for. As Swami Prabhavananda wrote, people have a right to their pain and suffering. Do not try to remove it. Sustain and comfort. And so we see Holy Mother sustaining and comforting, sustaining with money, comforting. She wept with people who were weeping. She celebrated joyously with people who were celebrating. But she emphatically did not, at least often, change providence. There were times when she would appeal to the master to change things. There was a famine and a drought and a resulting famine in Jairambati. At one time, she did apply to the master for some relief, and rain did come. Regarding Holy Mother's dealings with Surabala, Radhu's mother, we observe the mother's infinite patience. I'm sorry, this dadgum thing is really screwing up. Perseverance, compassion, infinite patience, perseverance, compassion, and forgiveness. In early February 1902, Surabala went to visit her father at Maite in Midnapur district. She carried her jewelry and Radhu's jewelry with her in a small box because she did not trust anyone in Jairambati. Her greedy father, however, cleverly took the jewelry box from his insane daughter and kept it. This aggravated Surabala's madness, and when she returned to Jairambati, she went to the Simhavani temple and began to cry, saying, "Mother, give me my jewelry, give me my jewelry, give me my jewelry." It was evening, and Holy Mother was talking with Rashbihari, Swami Aripananda? Arupananda. Suddenly she said, "My son, Surabala is crying to Mother Simhavani for her jewelry. She has no one except me. I must go." So Mother knew at a distance what was happening with Surabala. And so she said, "She has no one except me. I must go." Holy Mother brought Surabala home. Then Surabala accused Holy Mother, saying, "Sister-in-law, you have taken all my jewelry for yourself." Holy Mother replied, "If I had the jewelry, I would throw it away this moment, as I would the filth of a crow." I'll repeat that. Surabala accused her of stealing the jewelry, and she said, "If I had that jewelry, I would throw it away this moment, as I would the filth of a crow." She then told Rashbihari, "Girish used to say that Surabala was born as my mad companion." She's speaking of Girish Ghosh, of course. Soon afterwards, Holy Mother sent Rashbihari with a servant to Surabala's father and asked him to return the jewelry or to come and see her. He came to see Holy Mother, but did not bring the jewelry. Holy Mother fell at his feet. Imagine, Holy Mother, the Mother of the universe. Holy Mother fell at his feet and begged him, "Please save me from this terrible situation." But the old Brahmin did not relent. Finding no alternative, Holy Mother wrote a letter to Saradananda informing him of the matter. The Swami consulted with M. and Lalit Chattopadhyay, and both agreed to help. Before leaving Calcutta, Lalit obtained a letter from a high-ranking police officer. Lalit and M first went to Jairambati. Dressed in a Western suit, Lalit went to the Badangani police station by palanquin and showed the letter to the officer in charge. Pearlie, I'm in a class, I can't talk. And showed the letter to the officer in charge. Accompanied by a few constables, he went to Surabala's father, acting as if he were a high-ranking police officer. Okay. So this is Lalit. Okay. Lalit, accompanied by a few constables, went to Surabala's father, acting as if he were a high-ranking police officer. Holy Mother was very concerned lest Lalit humiliate the old Brahmin, so she made certain that M followed him. Before evening, M and Lalit returned to Jairambati with Surabala's father and the jewelry box, which he handed over to Holy Mother. Although the episode ended there, Holy Mother became very sick that night with a terrible dizziness. When asked about the cause of her illness, she replied, "When they left to collect the jewelry, I had severe anxiety lest the old Brahmin be humiliated, and that caused this dizziness." Now we hear about compassion. We read about compassion. This is compassion. This is compassion. Just imagine. She was so anxious that this old Brahmin not be, remember, she had fallen at his feet. She was so anxious that this old Brahmin not be humiliated that she became ill with anxiety and dizziness. This is compassion. Are there any comments or questions about what we've just read? Anything about this episode?
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
Shankara.
Mm-hmm.
Mother got the taste of her own divine play. We suffer so much. That's why avatars take birth and they experience what we experience, human beings. If you look at Prabhu Ramchandra's life, he cried for Sita and he went through that suffering. So it's difficult to understand the Maya.
Yes. But should we not have compassion for the mother and simply not say that she got the taste of what she created?
Yeah, that is a bit bit rude, I would say, but just what I mean to say is that it's when the avatar comes and takes birth, it's
she was very clear about that. You're right, Shailesh. She was absolutely clear.
I think that's what I meant, not mean to say. Probably I misused the words, but that's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, we can have compassion in our hearts for the mother, being so intensely compassionate for the old Brahmin that she herself became ill.
Brother Shankara.
Yes, Sham.
What I just noticed that almost all of our relatives were very selfish and really low class people in terms of mentality, and that caused a lot of inconvenience and pain and suffering because of them, mostly because of them.
There's no doubt you're right, but referring to what Shailesh just said and putting the best light on it, this is Mother showing us. This is Mother, as Shailesh said, tasting of the Maya and showing us that we do not need to be vindictive or judgmental in our responses, this is the highest way that Shailesh was speaking, that she was giving us an example of how to behave even in the most trying circumstances by people who, as you say, were selfish. And, you know, we can have compassion for them too. These were not wealthy people. And suddenly they had this relative who it appeared to them had become some sort of great celebrity. They didn't really understand her. They got glimpses. Sometimes she even told them. But she had somehow become this great celebrity, and that people came and gave her money. For no apparent reason, they gave her money. Of course, we understand the reason in some limited way. But nevertheless, we can have some understanding for them as she did. Though she said, I'm not going to be born in this family again. So,
Brother Shankara?
yes, dear.
My sort of thought is that Mother retained all these humanness or human aspects to her Leela, so that we can again relate more and then learn the lessons from it. If she went around solving everything like a miracle, then it would have become more of a mythology, and we may
Yeah.
not have really connected and learned from it. It would have become like a story and we enjoy. And I feel like maybe that was the reason that she kind
Well,
of.
you're absolutely right. And from here, that looks absolutely right, Swayam. That's why I said when what I said when it was read earlier that she did not want to change providence. She could have, but then, as you said, it would have just been miracle working, occult powers, all those things that we say when we don't understand what someone is doing. I'm now paraphrasing Swami Vivekananda from his preface to Raja Yoga. You know, just because we don't understand doesn't mean that it isn't a reality. But you know, Mother chose not to, or very rarely. She did sometimes, like when that crazy person came and was making demands on her and was just, it was a man, he was crazy. And she said she assumed her terrible form of Bagala and chased him around the house and finally jumped on him and knelt on his chest. So it isn't that she never exercised her powers as the divine presence, but I think you're absolutely right. So I think that
Brother Shankar,
in this way we learn. Yes, Haima.
I'm looking at from different angle. Mother's patience and compassion is so exemplary. And also because of these exploitative relatives and the family members, of course, some of us have those too every now and then, but she shines even more. She's like a rose in the normal grass around her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like just an ordinary grass. And she's like a rose, shining rose in that family. She's the only one who is bearing with so much patience, compassion. And they made her even shine better, I think.
Yes.
Isn't it? We all see what a great example she is for us.
Yes.
And tolerance, patience.
Her mother and father were also exemplary people.
See? That's right.
She was full of praise for her mother.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Okay.
I just want to comment a little bit, just the comment which I made last time about her relatives. And the comment, Brother Shankar, you made about the cash and what Sham was talking about, just to give a relative point that I've been thinking about it. There is no cash available anywhere in the villages. And even today, like I talk to my dad quite often, and he has his cousins who takes care of our everybody's land because everybody's migrated now.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely have no cash because what most of the time there is a barter system where they will take something and give it to other vegetables or whatnot. And there is some milk production, so they get some cash and some sugar. In recent time, and currently, if you go back 110 years ago, it was really, really, really bad. Absolutely no cash.
Mm-hmm.
And city people have, and that's why what I've seen is that people started migrating from villages to cities so that they would send money because the cash was only in the cities. There was no money. Even I remember like 20 years ago, I used to visit my aunt who was a very rich farmer. They had a lot of land, but they had no cash. So she would ask me, Shailesh, can you go and, because out of all the cousins, we were close and I was close to my aunt. She would disclose things to me. So she would say, can you bring this sugar or can you bring this, food stuff with you when you come because others are there and things like that. She would open up to me. So even they were very rich, they had no cash. So you can imagine that the money coming into mother, like you said, people just would give money. So it just turned their minds, more towards that part. And, family people, when their kids are suffering, there are so many things, they just think that, that money will help them, just like we do. That
Yeah.
So that's just my, just thoughts I wanted to share.
Well, very good. And of course, you're absolutely right. There was no cash to speak of in the villages. And and people did indeed, particularly the Brahmins, migrated to the cities to do rituals for people who could afford to pay them, and they sent the money back to the villages. All of that was, and other people moved to the villages. Young women went and served. Thakur used that as a metaphor, actually, about village girls going and working in people's zamindar's house, and so yes, there was a lot of want, and there still is a lot of want in the world. We have no idea how. I mean, most of us really have no idea how fortunate we are here, and so it's. But as when that talk on giving thanks was offered on Sunday, you may remember that there was that comment from Mark Twain, who himself was extremely observant and compassionate. He said that the thankfulness of 2/3 of the population was somewhat dampened by the fact that over the past year they'd had a hard time. And that emphatically is true now. So many are without work and ill and on the point of losing their homes, whether it's a rented home or a purchased home. So this business of want and scarcity in the world, as Buckminster pointed out, it is not a reality. It's simply the way that we do things that creates this scarcity. But I'll offer a talk on that sometime next year. Buckminster Fuller's philosophy of abundance. And he was a very informed thinker. He wasn't just blowing smoke at us. Anything else? Okay. On 11 February 1913, Holy Mother was at Udbodhan House and Surabala's abuse reached its limit. Surabala complained that the mother had used drugs to hold her daughter captive, and that she spent money on her other relatives without saving anything for her daughter. Holy Mother said to her, "Do not regard me as an ordinary human being. You do not abuse me alone, but my father and mother also. I do not take offense. I say to myself that these are mere words. If I were really offended, then who would protect you? As long as I am alive, things will be well with you. Your daughter will remain yours. I shall look after her as long as she cannot stand on her own feet. Do you think I have any Maya? Do you think I have any Maya? This very moment I could cut all attachments. Someday I shall vanish like camphor in the air." Now this, oh my goodness, let's listen here. Do you think I have any Maya? This very moment I could cut all attachments. Someday I shall vanish like camphor in the air. I don't know if you all know about camphor, but when it burns, it burns. There isn't even any ash. Magicians use it often because it produces a bright flash of flame and no ash. There's no, it doesn't seem like anything is burned, but there was this brilliant flash. Someday I shall vanish like camphor in the air, and you will not even know it. Surabala then changed her tone and said, "When did I show disrespect to your father? I never did. All I meant was that if you want to give something to a person, you give him everything." Surabala, of course, was crazy and misunderstood. Mother did not give everything away. And you know, oh well, we can go on and on about what Surabala didn't understand. Surabala wanted the mother to leave everything to Radhu. Holy Mother told her, "I have a childlike nature. I don't have a calculating mind. I give to any person who wants my help." After her bath, the mother would pray, "O Divine Mother, please do good to all beings." Now, I think we can all be very reassured and be very invited by this that Holy Mother just said. I have a childlike nature. I don't have a calculating mind. I give to any person who wants my help. And if you remember, Mother said, when you're in distress, remember you have a mother. And so she would give and does give. Now, I know of half a dozen instances since I came here 10 years ago in which people made a sustained appeal to Mother and remarkable, demonstrable changes happened in their life. After her bath, the mother would pray, "O Divine Mother, please do good to all beings." Surabala used to scold and say all sorts of things to the mother, but the mother ignored them. One day, Surabala said to the mother, "You are," somebody say that word, please.
Sarvanashi.
Sarvanashi, a destroyer of all. Immediately the mother cautioned her, "You can say whatever you wish, but never call me Sarvanashi. My children are all over the world, and such a curse will be harmful to them." Surabala could occasionally be humorous. One day in Udbodhan house, Holy Mother was decorating the master's picture with flowers and sandal paste before beginning the worship. With a twinkle in her eye, Surabala said to a woman devotee, "Look, what is the mother doing? She's decorating her husband with her own hands." Apparently that was remarkable in those days. She is decorating her husband with her own hands. She would even, on rare occasions, show respect to Holy Mother. Once in Jairambati, Radhu was ill, and the mother was feeding her milk. Surabala came to see Radhu, and inadvertently the mother's hand touched her feet. Surabala immediately cried out, "What will happen to me? Why did you touch my feet?" Holy Mother laughed aloud at this show of respect and said to a disciple, "Ravana knew fully well that Rama was Narayana himself, the supreme Brahman, and that Sita was the primordial power, the mother of the universe. Still, he did not refrain from ill-treating Sita. Surabala also knows who I am. She's fully aware of it, yet she must play her part." Again, some light is shed on our lives. We know who we truly are. Something in us knows who we truly are. And yet we play our part. The Wednesday class is coming to some, that's the study of Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. And we're coming to the part where he says, you know who you really are, behind the appearance. And he explains what it is in our behavior that betrays the fact that we know that. One day in Jairambati, Subhasini and Surabala were quarreling. Prasanna came to Holy Mother and said, "Sister, this is unbearable. Please settle their fight." Meanwhile, both sisters-in-law came to the mother, and Surabala began to abuse her. The mother calmly said to her, "Look, as long as I am in this family, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva will dwell in this household. As soon as I leave, there will be no end to your misery." Now, talk about a prophecy. So let us keep Mother in our household, in our hearts. Tormented by her insane sister-in-law, Mother once remarked, "My mind is eager to soar high into a spiritual plane. I feel compassion for them and keep it down. And what do I get in return? Only abuse and insults." So let us not be part of that crowd that offers Mother only abuse and insults for the fact that she remains in her subtle body. And will take birth again with the Master, according to the legend, according to the story. It's more than a legend, it's a story told. In 2086, they will be born again. She resisted the idea at one point, and the Master said, "Oh, you can't do that. We're like those creepers that grow on the surface of a tank of a pond. If you pull on one part over here, it tugs on the creeper all the way across the pond. So according to the story, Mother will be back. Once Holy Mother said to Surabala, "You are so proud of a daughter who is whining, whimpering, and sniffling all the time. Look at them," she continued, pointing to her devotees. "My wonderful jewel-like children. I am the mother without giving birth to any child." So sometimes Mother could be quite direct about who she is. Radhu and Manmata were Surabala's mainstay. She felt insecure if she was not with them. Unfortunately, her mental disorder sometimes caused her to have delusions concerning the pair. One day, while she was cooking in Jairambati, she thought of Manmata suddenly. The thought of Manmata suddenly came to her mind. She searched for Manmata in the house but could not find him. Then she thought perhaps he had gone to bathe in the Banerjee's pond. She went there and began to search in the water. When she could not find him, she concluded that he must have drowned. She returned to the house, fell at Holy Mother's feet, and burst into tears, crying, "Sister-in-law, my son-in-law has drowned in the Banerjee's pond. What will happen now?" Startled, the mother called loudly for her disciples and told them what Surabala had said. Hari responded, "Just now I saw Manmata playing cards in a shop." Holy Mother asked her disciples to bring him home right then. They went to the shop and escorted him to the mother. Surabala was ashamed and embarrassed when she saw Manmata and immediately went to her room. Holy Mother was greatly relieved. One afternoon, a few days later, Holy Mother was cutting vegetables on the veranda of her house. Brahmachari Bharata was writing letters in the front room. Suddenly, Surabala appeared in the courtyard and said to Holy Mother, "You are feeding my daughter opium. You have made her a cripple in order to exercise control over her. You do not allow my daughter and grandson to come near me." Holy Mother replied with utter detachment, "There is your daughter. Take her away. Have I hidden her?" But Surabala was determined to pick a quarrel and became flushed with anger. She picked up a piece of firewood from the kitchen veranda. And was about to strike the mother with it. The mother cried out aloud, "Who is there? O Bharata, come quickly. This insane woman is going to kill me." Bharata rushed to the spot and found Surabala about to hit the mother's head. He hurriedly snatched the firewood from her hand and then drove her from the house and forbade her to enter it again. Agitated, the mother forgot herself momentarily and said, "You mad woman, what were you about to do? Your hand will wither away." Oh my goodness. The next moment she regretted her slip and bit her tongue. She folded her hands and prayed to the Master, "Oh Master, what have I done? My lips have never uttered any curse. At long last that too has happened. Why live any more?" Bharata saw the mother weeping and was astonished by her compassion. Shortly after Mother passed away, Surabala was attacked with leprosy. She began to lose her fingers, and before long, she died. So anything before we go on to the next? We're about to talk about another of Mother's disciples, Bhavini. We're about to read about that. Anything at all about what we've read about Surabala and Radu and this way of behaving that Mother had to endure?
Surabala is surely is insane, Brother Shankara. She's really, really insane person. And
Yes.
I'm glad in a way she passed away because she was miserable in her own mind and body.
No
So
question, yes.
she wasn't benefited anyone there. It probably was a good thing that she passed away at the time.
Yes, it was a blessing that she left the
In
body.
disguise sometimes. Thank you.
No one in those days there was no cure for leprosy, so much
Did,
better that she
That's true.
left the body than live as a leper.
Yes.
did
So,
she meet her fate?
well, her hand was withering away. Mhm. She got leprosy and was losing her hand. Her fingers were, that's the way leprosy works. It just
Surabala.
mother's curse.
मराठी
Mother's curse once uttered. That's why she was so chagrined. Once uttered, it could not be recalled. It had to be fulfilled.
Living with somebody who's got any kind of paranoid mental disorders is extremely challenging. This
Mm.
makes it all the more remarkable that Mother, who had the ability to soar to higher planes whenever she wanted, still chose to keep herself down and have the compassion and patience to deal with that.
Mhm. That was because it was her mission. The master gave her that mission. Stay so that she could serve the disciples, so that she could have all these children. And Surabala and Radu, they weren't her children in the sense of her disciples were her children, but were the Mahamaya, the Maya that kept her in a state where she could deal with the other disciples. Thank you, Swayam. That was just right. Anything else from anyone?
There is a grim real story about something similar happened. One of the monks, and I think you may have read Brother Shankara. This is in the book which we have here in our library. One of the monks of the Ramakrishna order, he was visiting another center, and from the terrace he saw uh, in the neighboring property there was a person with his hand had gone away, like the withered away or whatever you call it, and with another hand he was cleaning um, the he was actually sweeping. And so the Swami asked, what happened? This is a neighbor. What happened to this person? And he said, years ago, when this person was young, and the Swami who was staying there, the president or whoever had started the mutt, they had some kind of argument, and this person, neighbor, he hit the Swami with that hand. And the Swami, eventually the whatever it was, they maybe have been a land dispute or something. But the Swami went away by his own way, and but years later, this person, when he got old, his hand went away. With the same hand he had hit, he had the hand had dried out actually completely. There was no life in it.
Well, one can only hope that that wasn't the result of a curse, but it was only the karma. But yeah, these things happen. Hmm. Well, thank you, Shailesh, for that contribution. Anything else before we go on? Okay, Bhavini, a cousin of Holy Mother. Bhavani lived with her mother next to Holy Mother's house in Jairambati. Holy Mother's attendants looked after Bhavani's mother, who was not well, and Holy Mother regularly gave them vegetables, fruit, and other necessities. One day she gave 2 pomegranates to Bhavani for her mother. While Bhavani was there, a big parcel of fruit arrived from Ranchi. Bhavani heaved a sigh and commented, "Ah, at first it was proposed that I marry Prasanna, somebody please say that, Paramahamsa Deva."
Deva, right. Sri Ramakrishna.
Oh, yeah. This Bhavani heaved a sigh and commented, "At first it was proposed that I marry Paramahamsa Deva, Sri Ramakrishna, but my father did not give me in marriage to him, considering him to be mad. If I had been married to him, then all these things would have come to me. I would not have to depend on anybody. Rather, I would distribute these things to others." At this, Holy Mother and the other people in the household laughed. She said to Bhavani, "It does not matter that you are not married to the Paramahamsa. Please take whatever you need." She then said to Brahmachari Bharata, "Keep a few fruits for the master and give some papayas, pomegranates, and other fruits to Bhavani." What an interesting little incident, and shows Mother's grace in a circumstance where another person's being self-centered. Mother is anything but. A big parcel of fruit arrived. She immediately, as soon as it was suggested that it should belong to Bhavani, well, that Bhavani suggested that, Mother just said, "We'll give it to her." Mother's detachment. Swami Satya Swarupananda, a disciple of the Mother, related this incident. Holy Mother was in Udbodhan, preparing to leave for Jairambati. Swami Saradananda asked Ashok and Rasbahari to help the mother pack. Saradananda bought a beautiful and expensive mosquito curtain for the mother's use in Jairambati, which Rasbahari put in the mother's trunk. In the evening, the mother left for Howrah station with her companions and those 2 attendants. The train arrived at Vishnupur station very early in the morning. They traveled by bullock carts for the rest of the journey, reaching Jairambati before evening. Ashok and Rasbahari carried the mother's luggage to her room and then went to their cottage. When the mother was unpacking, Uncle Kali came to inquire about his sister. When he saw the mosquito curtain, he grabbed it and said, "Sister, you will have to give this one to me." He grabbed it and said, "Sister, you will have to give this one to me." As he said this, he put it under his arm and left. The mother stood there like a speechless spectator. After supper, Ashok and Rasbahari came to make the mother's bed and set up the mosquito curtain. They could not find it, even after searching through all the clothes in the trunk. They asked the mother about it, but she remained silent. Finally, she said, "My sons, Kali wanted it, so I gave it to him." And my son's Kali wanted, so I gave to him. Rasbahari said, "Mother, Sharat Maharaj gave it to you for your use, and you did not use it even for a day. What will he think?" Mother replied, Mother, what can I, my son? Mother replied, my son, what can I do? You set up the old mosquito curtain for me. Helpless, they followed the mother's order and left the room. While walking to their cottage, they met Uncle Collie in the courtyard as he was returning to the mother's cottage. Both of them grabbed Collie's arms and insisted, Uncle, where is the mosquito curtain? Please return it to the mother. Uncle Collie replied, Sister gave it to me. No, she didn't give it to me. You have taken it. Then Uncle Collie shouted, Sister, your attendants are going to kill me. What a crowd. They were, oh me. Sister, your attendants are going to kill me. The mother rushed to the courtyard when she heard the cry. Meanwhile, Uncle Collie broke out of their grip, ran to his room, and closed the door. The mother mildly reprimanded her attendants. You are monks. You should have detachment. It is not proper to quarrel over a petty mosquito curtain. Observing the mother's non-attachment and forbearance, they went to their room. We've got just a few minutes left before we start the next subhead. Are there any comments or questions about what we've been reading in Mother's what she's showing us and what she offers us? Because this love, this forgiveness, this forbearance, it wasn't just something that existed during the time that she was embodied. As we read in the Chandi, hymns, Mother's forbearance is great, her forgiveness is complete. Even the asuras who hate righteousness, Mother directs her weapons against them, so that even the inimical ones, purified by the missiles, may attain the higher realms. So, anything at all to comment or to feel grateful for? It's Thanksgiving time. Anything at all?
Brother Shankara, I'm just not getting this. This is Katrina.
Yes, Katrina.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It seems that I'm trying to get the balance between what Mother is doing and then the concept of karma and coming back, because it's like she's experiencing all of these things, and I can understand the detachment, but then how does that balance with, I guess it was what someone said before in terms of we're really I guess you call them the gunas, where it's like what you're experiencing. My understanding of that is what you're experiencing is a reflection of what you're thinking, what your thoughts are. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
So
that's true for ordinary people, Katrina. We look at these divine beings, and I'm not saying you should or must by any manner of means. You may look at them however you please. But the understanding from here is that these beings have no karma. They don't come with any burden of karma.
the Mother had no karma.
No.
Okay.
Holy Mother had no karma. Sri Ramakrishna had no karma. this was done, and she explicitly said it even a couple, 3 times tonight, as in what we've read. This is happening to me so that my mind will stay down, because my natural tendency is to soar out of here, to leave this body, to not endure this misery and samsara. But I experience this samsara in order to remain with you and offer you who I am. Now again, Katrina, I am saying to you, that is not dogma, that is not doctrine, that is not something that to participate here you must believe. No, not at all. You bring to it whatever you bring to it, and all of our prayer most auspiciously is for greater understanding and greater awareness, not only of who the divine ones are, but who we are. So we must never, this I'll say in a sense dogmatically, we must never pretend to believe. We must never have blind faith. This is that kind of hypocrisy, that kind of false piety is it just leads us astray. So the thing for us to do is be very sincere with ourselves and say, this is how I see this. If this is less than the highest way to see it, if there is a more fulfilling and freeing and happy-making way to see it, let me have the experiences that allow me to see it and feel it in that way. That's why that prayer, Om Asato Ma Satkamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor Ma Amritangamaya. O beloved one, lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. So if we say that prayer, or our own version of it, the promise of all of the great ones is that they will respond and will give us, share with us in the way of experience, not just thoughts, in the way of experience, who we are, who they are, and their wisdom and love. So your question and your doubt is very appropriate, Katrina, very appropriate. And it's altogether auspicious for you to think these thoughts and to add it up as you're adding it up. My answer from here about Mother is that she had no karma. This was not her karma. This was the result of a direct wish by Sri Ramakrishna, that she experienced these things in order to keep her mind down, which she, as you heard several times, or a couple of times tonight, she admitted that.
Okay. All right.
So,
I think I understand better.
well, good.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen all at once, dear, by any means. And if you want to talk to me about it privately, you're more than welcome to. Call me up on the phone. You can even come here. You know, we can sit with masks at 10 feet distance and talk. You know, these are important questions for us to resolve for ourselves.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome, dear, and you are most welcome to be with us and ask these questions. This is exactly what we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, it's 9:01. If there's nothing else, then we'll take it up with this very provocative subhead, the divine drama. That's what we'll start with next week. So I will end with that prayer that I just repeated. Om Asatoma Satgamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from thy lesser truth, from thy relative truth, to thy highest truth, to thy absolute truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. O Lord, may it be true. Anything else from anyone before we?
Shankara,
Yes, dear.
it's sort of, as you were saying the prayer, in answer to Katrina's question. So when I have these sort of doubts off and on, I use your advice and offer the doubt itself to Mother, saying
Yes.
that, I have these doubts, I don't know the answer, just, help me resolve it. And it does bring a certain sense of peace. I stop struggling with myself then,
Oh, what a
doubting.
thank you for that, Soya. That is absolutely the right thing to do. As Krishna says to us in chapters 3 and 4 of the Gita, offer it all to the divine presence, all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything, without qualification. And then accept what comes back as the response. And as you said, just by offering your doubts, you get some relief and stop struggling with yourself. How beautifully said. How beautifully said. As Brahmananda, Swami Brahmananda, Raja Maharaj, the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, said, we're all going toward the glory. Some by a thorny path and some by a smooth path. And the thorny path, we offer that too. We offer that too. And sometimes it gets thorny. There's a lot of people in the world right now, a lot of people in the world, millions, billions perhaps, that are on a very thorny path indeed. Let us pour out our hearts in compassion to them. And wish for them that they be safe, that they be healthy, that they be cheerful, that they have peace of mind. Anything more? All right, dears. Until tomorrow night, for those of you who wish to come, we will have class tomorrow night, even though the next day's Thanksgiving, and I don't expect many people will come, but that's fine. We'll talk with whoever's there. And if there aren't very many people, if there are just a few, really a few, 2 or 3, we won't really read. We'll just talk with one another so that we don't move ahead in the book without and leave others behind, because it's definitely a building block process listening to Swami Vivekananda. He's so logical and so thorough in his thinking. So, until next time, and for those of you I don't talk to or see before then, may you have a very sweet and happy Thanksgiving. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank
May
you,
go in Mother's loving and protective embrace.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. And Mother willing, Naveen and I hope to be there in class tomorrow.
Ah, wonderful. All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, all.
Night all.